there. So the way that I would define employee engagement is basically the energy and the passion that you put into, or employees put into, their work.
To me, employee engagement would mean some sort of participation between employees, colleagues, bosses. I believe that it would have to do with respect and a common goal, a common understanding of what needs to get done and how to do it in order to be participatory.
When I think of employee engagement, what comes to mind to me is about using the company's vision and organization's mission to really help employees know they're part of a bigger goal and something larger than themselves. So your commitment, your passion, your joy, all those things I think contribute to employee engagement.
And I think that employee engagement at edX is extremely high. We all care so much about this job and each other and our work and the impact it has on others that I think that we are all highly engaged, both professionally and personally.
In my current organization, I believe that employee engagement is very high. There is a very high level of collegiality, that we all have roles that we fulfill for the team, for our organization. So I feel as though our rate is very high. Each person knows what their role is. Each person knows what they are supposed to do. We have a common goal in mind. Our leader is very communicative, and we understand what we need to do at all times. We also have a very high level of communication between us, so that makes it easy for all of us to be engaged.
The engagement in my company is very high. There are only 4 of us total, and we are all really committed to the success of our company. It requires all of us to be highly engaged. I think if any of us were not engaged, it wouldn't work. With a group that small, we can't really hide from each other when we work in such a small, intimate group. So I think for us, our engagement's very high, and I think part of that is because we made active decisions to stop working in our regular jobs, employed as educators in public school systems, and to branch off to do this work as consultants. And we made a choice to try and be committed to the success of this organization. So we have a lot invested, and we have a lot of probably, I guess you could say, oversight over the way the organization works, which I think also increases our engagement.
Our leader, Missy, is extremely thoughtful about making sure that we feel comfortable in our work life, and that also means knowing that we're comfortable in our personal lives. So we are allowed to sort of bring who we are and our families into our work, but also able to maintain a professional atmosphere. So I think we all really know who each other are, and that helps with the engagement, and our leader for sure fosters that environment.
The role that leaders play in my organization is a really pivotal one. Our leader is very good about setting, twice a year we meet and we go over our goals, and not only do we go over goals for us, but she is expecting us to give her feedback as to how she can improve as a leader. So not only is she leading, but she's leading by example. She is very communicative about which roles we have to play. She's very communicative about what needs to get done. She's very direct, and that is part of our norms, that she's going to be direct and that we are direct back with her. We do check in on our norms at least twice a year, and then when issues arise, we are also doing a norms check-in so that we know how to work together.
In terms of leadership, and we definitely have one consultant who is kind of the boss, I guess you could say. She does a really great job of soliciting our feedback, our opinions, She doesn't just make decisions unilaterally, even though she could. I think because she has recruited us as really high quality and highly capable educators to work alongside her, she values us, and she knows that we all bring something different to the table. We all have different strengths, and I think that allows her to use the strengths of us as individual consultants and as educators to navigate the decision making and to help us feel like we're part of the overall company and our work.
I guess if we're asking that about myself, my engagement, I guess it fluctuates in terms of there are definitely particular tasks and jobs in my work that I am not as engaged in, and maybe I don't like as much, and so my motivation feels lower for some of those things. But then there's always those things that I am super into and passionate about, and those I feel like offset the other ones. And I feel like we have a team where when engagement feels low with one team member, we are there for each other to figure out what supports we can put in place to make sure that our engagement goes up and is good, and that we are remaining passionate and energetic.
Like anything, I think our employee engagement fluctuates with whatever is going on in life or whatnot. And I think that would be a normal situation. I think it's a lovely thing to have employees be able to be honest with one another as to when you're going to be more or less engaged, depending on what's going on in either your professional or personal life. And when one of us needs to take on less, the rest of us fill in and take on more. And over time, we've all taken our turn being the person doing more or doing less. It also, engagement can fluctuate with morale. And I think that goes back to a norms conversation, that when you see morale start to dip, it's important that you pull together as an organization, not just as a leader, but as an organization, to check back in with each other to see what needs to get done in order to improve the engagement.
In terms of fluctuating my engagement, I think that life presents all kinds of things that cause us to engage at higher levels or not. I would say I'm the newest person on the team, and so I still feel like I lead with a pretty high level of engagement. I also really like what I do, and I think that helps me keep my engagement high. There are some parts of my job that I don't love, and so those things I have to kind of just get done. There are tasks, of course, within my job that are not always awesome, but overall, it doesn't really impact my engagement. It might impact my procrastination, but it doesn't really impact how engaged I am as an employee of this organization. For my reflection, I will be referring mostly to Amina Shahid's 2019 journal article about employee engagement. She begins by asserting the importance for organizations to have high engagement from their employees. She notes the benefits of high employee engagement to include a lower staff turnover, better productivity and performance, as well as retaining customers and having higher profits. In fact, she also asserts that companies in a highly competitive field really can't afford not to have high engagement from their employees, just for the sheer expense of onboarding and training new employees. I think that both of those assertions are true and are shown in my interviews with my colleagues. Because of the size of our organization, there's really little room for error in terms of recruitment and having and retaining consultants in our company. We are a service. We belong to a service industry. We provide support to schools and school districts, and we have really no room for turnover in our company. The turning over even just one person would have a massive effect on the entire organization and the stability of the work that we do with our schools. She also notes other researchers and their definitions of employee engagement that I think aligned well with my interviews. First, she notes Wellens and Conselman's 2005 definition that talks about engagement being a place where motivated employees achieve high performance. They promote commitment, integrity, productivity, and ownership. And I think that those concepts came through in my interview. Also, I liked the portion where she pulled in Richmond's definition from 2006. He adds to the definition by adding the idea of passionate and intelligent commitment. I know for my organization that Richmond's definition rings most true. I think it was displayed very clearly and almost exactly in a couple of the comments made by my colleagues and myself about having passion for the work and aligning with the commitment of the work. And then finally, Shahid provides, I think, a framework for employee engagement that's really applicable to my interviews. The drivers of employee engagement include a positive working culture, inspiring leadership, meaningful work, professional development, freedom as in a sense of autonomy, and recognition. Each of those drivers were mentioned at one point or another by myself or one of my colleagues multiple times throughout the interviews. And while the question didn't explicitly have us call out professional development, I think if you look back at Megan's interview, she pointed to goal setting and norms, which for our company also includes intentional professional development goals and outcomes. So I definitely felt like these questions hit at the heart of employee engagement. That also was backed up by the reading that we engaged in this week for the course.